I don't really like to hate on things because, I'm Socratic, and hating on things kind of like gives people control over your mind. But when I say I'm hating AI, I'm utilizing the word to emphasize how hard the feelings are. And to explain why the feelings are like that is because I think the overall promise that is pushed by AI companies is one of the best and biggest swindles of all time. So these companies are under immense pressure to perform because there's already billions and billions of venture capital in them, and they have to prove or show that they have a way that this money will come back at one point. And the only really way to get that money back is like a massive disruption. So that's kind of like the root cause, and everything has been designed around that. And whilst there are very good use cases of AI, and I will come to them later, I want to start with this specific part because it explains why things are the way they are. So there are also, when something new happens like blockchain or crypto, there's just a natural tendency that people get overhyped. That's just like something might have some evolutionary reason why we humans tend to overhype things. And I'm not a person that didn't do that in the past, or I'm even a person that did it with AI. But at the root, AI is a next word predictor. Uh, it's just a prediction engine, but not all things can be easily predicted. And often, when you want to build something, and that is why I use the word hate. When you want to build something, very often you need to find those things that are almost like the opposite of what can be predicted, because you kind of like, they used to use the word disruption in startups. Like they were trying to find the next big disruption, which is defined as like, oh, it's not as it was, as it has been done before. And to find those disruptions, you need to get very good domain knowledge, and you need to keep thinking on it. Like you need to walk around, and then if you, even if you like go into physics or science, like the real breakthroughs often come when you tinker with problems for a long time, and then when you do something else or you get like some weird input, you might find a solution. And those AI agents and tools always give you the impression, and also the not the seduction, but they give you the option to find an easy way, and you do not learn domain knowledge. So when you want to build a startup, for example, you kind of like need to be better than the other startups, right? And for that, you need to understand what your customers really need. You need to understand how it is built. So, for example, you can choose better database structures, better databases, or better storage engines, or better algorithms, and or something like that. And this building this mental model takes time, and the same way you don't learn a lot by copy pasting from a tutorial, you don't learn a lot by just letting AI do the job. But AI keeps giving you a positive feedback loop while you're on the wrong path. And that's what I really hate about it. That's why I'm using the word hate, where I'm saying, fuck, like I personally feel like I wasted 2-3 months on heavy AI usage under the assumption it's gonna help me building a startup or building a software that is actually usable. Or not usable, it is usable, but it is actually good or better than the competitors on the market. But I feel like in those 2 to 3 months, I don't really have learned the problems of my users better, nor have I improved the mental model of my code base, nor have I really learned anything new, like a lot engineering wise, because I just like screamed whatever I wanted to the AI, and it gives you the feeling you're achieving a lot, but you're not actually learning those things. You're just getting like a clone that is just like decent, but it's like to get to the point where it's so good that people want to, oh, this platform is really good. They tell somebody else about it, right? To get to that point, it doesn't help you really. So, and then I keep reading those articles on those videos, and I keep having this debate in my head where it's like, how can I utilize, or why am I the only person, or like one of the few persons that feels like I'm getting literal when I read about agent loops, feedback loops, whatsoever. I'm getting crippling anxiety because I know it's just like making everything more complex, reducing the mental model, the average mental model the developers have of the project, and it's just gonna get worse. Whilst your money is going to the AI companies, right? So you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. Time more important than money, and you don't make any progress. So how can we still, or like is there still a use case for us? And that's where I feel like after those like initial swing, AI is awesome, to AI sucks, I hate AI, where I'm finding a way to utilize AI as, in those things it's good at, and it's actually helping me to build up those things. So first, the basic premises: I want to build that mental model. I want to be the person that understands, like Steve Jobs of Apple, that understands what do the customers need, like what is the root problem, what is the business problem, and how can it be solved efficiently with the engineering tools that they are available, or the engineering solutions that they are available. So instead of trying to let AI do a task that fundamentally changes how we use AI. So instead, so for example, if there's something I don't really know a lot about, I'm kind of like, write me a summary. I'm well aware that there can be mistakes, and I'm just wanted to point me to right directions. Very often I tell it, hey, do you have any articles, can I read that somewhere? And then often I switch to the documentation, and then I just like ctrl plus F, search through the documentation, read it in there, and I try to build it as a knowledge generation tool. That really helps. It's less token usage. That's why they are not telling you to do it like that. They need you to run millions of multiple agents at the same time, for you to burn those tokens, because a lot of these things could even be solved by local LLMs or by smaller models. They don't need to be like by the biggest ones. The other thing that I'm using it for is exploration. So when my code base gets a little bit bigger, and I naturally have the challenge of like remembering everything that is in the code base, I can tell AI, hey, how is this solved? What kind of like solutions do we have? Do we have any inconsistencies? Do we have stuff like that? Like I let it crawl through the code base, and find little inconsistencies and so on. And then the third thing is, on all implementations, I let it bug check, or like even issue check, like, could I do that better? Is there another solution I missed? But I'm taking full ownership of the solution Like I don't really like maybe a line or 5 lines or something like really mechanical. I might let AI do, but and I'm not sure even that's beneficial, but that's what I'm still doing because there's some benefit in learning. Like regex replace, grep replace, SED, and all that stuff to make like bigger changes mechanically. So you can do it on your own as well. And so, but this is the third big thing I'm utilizing AI for because it's just a plus. Like if it tells me a false positive, I don't care. Like, oh, that's not important, never mind, or that's wrong, never mind. But sometimes I might miss something. We all miss something. So to let AI check your code instead of checking AI's code is, in my opinion, better. And the last thing I want to add, should have been a little bit earlier, is, man, AI gets really, really slow over time. Like they try to make it better, but it gets slower. They just like it doesn't feel like the recent changes were really like huge improvements. It was like it got better in one thing, but it got worse in something else. Either it uses more token, it's taking longer, and then when you let it run, and there's a big disadvantage because you lose context, like your context, not the AI context. So if it takes 2 3 minutes, what are you doing in that time? And you never really reach flow state where you're like, oh, this should be like this, duck, duck, duck. You know how it is when you code something and you're really in the code and you try to solve it. And the more often you need to go to AI, um, the more often you lose context, right? If I'm building something just at one point, I might take a net time of 30 minutes, and with AI, it would be 15 minutes. But I'm not losing context because when I'm like, whenever switching in and out and like thinking about potential solutions on like the business problems you have, often you end up with worse solutions or with even worse implementations, and you take longer. So really the benefits are not that much in my opinion.